Ricochet is backstage, and Riddle scoots up. Pardon me, partner. Didn't see you over yonder. Ricochet is so excited for Sunday. And Riddle goes on about how they're heading out west. So he talks about a Western spaghetti burrito and his favorite Western film, Toy Story 2. Riddle then says if he wins the Money in the Bank, he will cash it in on the tag champions for Randy Orton. Ricochet thinks this is a flawed idea and doesn't know if Money in the Bank works that way for tag titles. But before we can get a decision, we hear surprise splash holes, and there's Morrison and Miz squirting them with the drip sticks, and then Miz runs over Riddle's injured foot and as Riddle is holding his foot, and these two morons have just wheeled off in the wheelchair. Ricochet is just so upset, and he goes, "Why would you?" Ugh. Like Ricochet wanted to have an honest discussion about what would possess a man to do such dastardly things as squirt a guy with water and then roll over his foot. I rewound this and watched it 3 times, and Ricochet's reaction, "Why would you?" was better each time. And it ends with Riddle saying, "Drip, drip, it'll go down high noon style." This was my favorite Ricochet speaking moment of his entire wrestling career. I love this. Why would you?
He's a man of logic. He needs to know people's reasonings for various attacks.
Oh, my God.
He's
Dude,
an ad-libber.
This show is like I'm watching WandaVision. It's all these people that are like, they're not even human interactions. These are all people that are under the spell. It's just the question is, who is Wanda? This is Vince Vision.
It is, yeah. It has been for the past 30, 40 years that we've been watching all this stuff. What it comes down to, John, is the fact that these are not trained actors.
No.
And they're given scripts that probably aren't really well suited for their abilities. And as a result, you have just perhaps the most expensive, the most watched broadcasts of bad acting on TV that's out there. It's part of what makes professional wrestling so unique. Is the fact that we watch some of the worst wrestling. I mean, outside of pornography, I suppose, we watch some of the worst wrestling that exists probably on broadcast, and we keep coming back because, you know, it's not the acting that they do well, it's all the other stuff that they do well. Nonetheless, I think The Miz and Morrison are hilarious. I find The Miz actually far more entertaining in a wheelchair than without a wheelchair. He's been great.
Where he just races off. Like, you're thinking he's just hightailing it after they've hit him with the squirt guns. And when Riddle, where in that momentary gap where he's grabbing his foot and then you piece it together, oh yeah, this guy's got the injured foot. I laughed. I thought it was rather amusing.
There you go.
That's all I ask for, Way. My bar is, it doesn't take a lot for me.
Do you think these drip sticks are going to be sold?
100%. 100%.
See, I question it because I don't know if it's the water guns are the best things to sell your live audience at a wrestling event. That's a nightmare.
I mean, they sell booze, so, I mean.
Are you saying combine the two? They won't be drip sticks anymore. They'll be dripping with, forbidden substance.
We got this great Falls Count Anywhere match that I think everyone thought could be great. I think it turned out to be pretty spectacular with John Morrison and Ricochet. Early on, Morrison executes a neckbreaker onto the edge of the apron and then a backslide while using the wheelchair for leverage. They've gotten everything they can out of this wheelchair.
I've been really impressed. Like, I hope this man heals completely. I hope he leads a very mobile life. But I also kind of don't want him to lead this wheelchair because I think it's been a great gimmick.
Maybe this is what Connor's going to do at all the fight nights and pay-per-views. He's going to show up and
like a
Why
showtime.
worry about rehabbing yourself when you can be on the road every week?
Sure, maybe jump into the octagon with a wheelchair so guys can like bounce off of it. Yeah.
They fought in front of the LED screens. Ricochet hit a 450 off the barricade. Jimmy Smith says, I don't think anybody else uses moves like this. So maybe Jimmy Smith needs to give Lucha GIFs a follow on Twitter.
Right.
Imagine Jimmy Smith. Vikingo will blow Jimmy Smith's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Ricochet scales to the top and hit a shooting star press to the floor. Morrison gets a ladder out. Ricochet then dives over the wheelchair. This is when Miz is trying to create a obstacle. Ricochet just dives over the wheelchair. And then they fight to the back where Morrison nails him with a super kick. They make their way back out and Miz shoots Ricochet with the dripstick, which leads to a roll-up. Morrison hits the Moonlight Drive, and then Riddle comes down on his scooter and tips the Miz onto his back in the wheelchair. The Miz was either super glued to the floor or he's paralyzed from the waist down because he could not move. He was stuck in this position for the next 5 minutes.
He's stuck. He's stuck like a turtle on his back.
He was a turtle.
Yeah.
Morrison then comes up.
Well, the man has a broken leg. How is he supposed to maneuver out of this?
He's got a knee injury.
Yeah, that's just as good as a broken leg.
I guess he has to be very careful. Morrison comes off the rope into a recoil, and then the final spot is Morrison is set on the ladder on the floor, and Ricochet comes off the top with a splash, breaking the ladder and pinning Morrison in 16 minutes. This was great. This was a really spectacular match, and I'm going to say, I thought this anyway before watching this match, but after what they have placed the bar at, and with the talent involved, this men's match on Sunday, I think it has the potential to be one of the best Money in the Bank matches this company has ever had. That is an unbelievable lineup, but the bar is very high. But these two are in it, so I think this is going to be a hell of a ladder match that the men are going to have.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, the talent is just really strong on this roster in general, but sure, maybe with these two in particular and their use of creative use of weapons around the ring.
You have a crowd. That's going to emphasize a lot more. I think it's going to be that much hotter.
Yeah, maybe you can look forward to something special. But just, I'm really glad that they used this month to focus specifically on these two in this rivalry that they've had, because I think they've quietly had a really wonderful little feud on Raw. It's a feud that's been able to showcase what makes Ricochet feel special in ring again after, like what feels like several months being on main event in a wasteland. I feel like he's taken this feud with Morrison to prove how creative and how athletic they both are. And it's wonderful that they're able to create something with that ability and that chemistry together beyond a formulaic 3-minute Raw match. I think their use of the Miz in the wheelchair has been used to great effect, and I thought it did a pretty good job overall this month of rehabbing Ricochet heading into Money in the Bank. Sometimes, I wish they would be upfront with us about how many matches that they're gonna have with one another. Because even though all the matches were,
hey,
yeah,
I think you and I should have 3 matches, and we're gonna have shitty finishes for 2 of them.
Well, I hope they wouldn't have shitty finishes.
One was really shitty. The other one, the double count out, I was fine with the crossbody off the barricade.
To me, just being upfront about it. Hey, we're gonna have a best of 5, okay? Treat it like a baseball schedule, where these teams are gonna face each other 5 times. It's gonna be the same game. 5 single times.
Wait, it's often not a best of 5. If you said the number, you'd be pretty dumb. What do you think that conversation would have been like back in March between Big E and Apollo?
The problem is, they have no plan. They have no foresight to be able to say, okay, at the end of 5 weeks, we want to get to here. But if they did, I wouldn't mind this philosophy of them constantly rebooking the same matches just to get the same faces on TV every single week. If each one meant something, if at the end we could tally them all up to give us some meaning about who ultimately won the battle. So, that's my only ask, because otherwise I thought I've enjoyed all 3 of these matches that they've had.